Right, hello. My name's Alison Warren. I am one of the founder members of Open Drama, and I'm a drama teacher with over 30 years experience. And I'm going to be talking today with Charlotte Robbins, who is both an ex-student of mine, but more importantly for this discussion, she's somebody who was my TA, who worked with me with a number of students with physical challenges over, oh God, don't know how many years now. She's now in training herself. She's going to be an English teacher. And we just thought we'd have a little chat about some of the experiences that we've had and some of the advice that we would give people if they were in the position of working with students with particular physical disabilities. So, Charlotte, what do you think is the main thing that people need to be aware of when they realise that they've got somebody in their classroom whose physical needs are different?
Their sort of capabilities and limitations. I think that's really important because you have to know what your students are going to be physically able to do, emotionally and mentally able to cope with, because you know a lot of the disabilities that we deal with in mainstream schools come with emotional challenges and mental challenges. So knowing what they're able to do and what they're able to participate in, especially physically, because if they're in wheelchairs or on crutches, you know, movement can be tricky. And so having that discussion with your TA and that student particularly about you know, what they're able to do, what physically they're able to do, where they have to draw the line. Some of them will have walking frames, some of them will have standing rabbits that can be really useful. So I 100% encourage you to use those in those lessons, because not only is it really good physiotherapy for those students, it's really good for their participation.
Because I think that's one of the things I found the most difficult to start with was knowing how much I could talk to you and the students about their needs without feeling that I was being in some way intrusive or inquiring about stuff they maybe didn't want to talk about. It didn't occur to me until you told me that actually most of these kids are usually pretty able to discuss what they need to do.
They spend so much time with adults because they're in and out of hospitals, and obviously they're, you know, a lot of them are, if they're confined to a wheelchair, they can't move around freely. So a lot of the times they're really used to being around adults. So having a really honest conversation is no challenge for them, and also it helps them feel accepted and feel safe, because you know what they can do and you're going to encourage them. So it gives them that, it gives them like a feeling of security, I think.
Because you talked about this idea of them being other. They think of themselves as being other, and that separates them from all their peers. And that was something that we went out of our way to try and work on, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's a real big feeling of like a disconnect, especially in physical subjects, so drama, dance, PE particularly, where they just feel it's a big challenge, and they feel different because all their friends are running around in the class, you know, doing silly things. That a lot of games are quite physical, so playing tag and things like that as a warm-up, it can be really challenging for them because they just feel separated from the rest of their group, and it just highlights their differences. And that's something that we really tried to discourage. We wanted to make them feel the same as everybody else, so we did a lot of things that were sat down, or we did things where it wasn't a running around game, it was more a thinking game, or it was a movement, but everyone had to walk, because wheelchairs don't go that fast, but they can, and when they do, they're dangerous in an inside confined space. So we don't encourage that in a classroom.
Because I remember the lad in year 8 who could walk out of his wheelchair but would get very tired was lethal in his, absolutely lethal.
they don't always have awareness of what's
yeah,
going
yeah.
on.
Because that's something else I think you have to be aware of, is I think you have to be aware of how it affects them over a day. You know, if you've got a student who's been walking around on crutches all day and you've got them in the afternoon, their capacity for physical activity, they still want to be involved, but their capacity for physical activity is limited because they're knackered. And the other thing I always found it entertaining was watching teachers struggle with hearing impaired kids. You know, when we had to wear the microphones, and they were all, you know, there was a whole set of people who were terrified of it, but it's necessary, and you get used to it, and you can't hear it, so it's not you speaking to a microphone that everybody can hear. You know, it's something you've got to do. I mean, I think
hearing impaired and eyesight impaired, visually impaired, I think that's something that we don't, I mean, hearing impaired we see a lot in mainstream. There's lots of students who have hearing aids, lots of them, and you don't notice actually, especially if they've got long hair. So you have to be really careful like reading the information, because you know, if they can hear better on their right than their left, then making sure they're sat on the right side of you so they can hear you properly is really important. So you have to be really careful about that. And you know, if they don't hear you the first time, like with a hearing able student, you might be like, you're not paying attention. You have to be mindful of the fact that if that student is hearing impaired, it might be that they just didn't hear you. So and for visually impaired students, having printouts, bigger printouts is really important. Reading off a board or from a script, where the writing tends to be quite small, is not going to work for them.
But the other thing we really tried to do was to integrate them into the options for extracurricular stuff. It's tricky, particularly with theatre trips, but it's so worth it. I mean, those times we've taken kids out have been so brilliant for them and for us, I think.
It makes such a difference to them to just come on a trip, not have to worry about anything, not have to go in a separate car, not have to be brought by their parents when everyone else is going on a coach, to sit with their friends, to be part of everything the same as everybody else. I just think that experience for them, to us it doesn't seem much to put them in a taxi and send them off with their TA to meet everybody there. But to the kids, oh gosh, I remember this trip we went on all together, and I was working with this particular student a lot, this female student, and the difference, like her face lit up, she was so happy, because I don't know that we necessarily told her anything really about the transportation, other than she was going and it was sorted, but the fact that she could go on the coach with everybody and we were singing songs and taking selfies and whatever else on the coach, for her was just like, and for me it was quite emotional, because I was working closely with this student, and to see her so relaxed and just enjoying herself without having to worry.
It was a musical and they all sang the songs on the way home. Do you remember?
Oh yeah. And I was like, oh no. No, it was great fun.
It was that whole thing. It's like you said, it's avoiding them feeling like the other.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid that we've got lots to talk about, because that's us. That's all we got time for. So thank you very much, Charlotte, for giving us your experience. And good luck with your training as it continues.
Thank you very much.